Does your classroom feel like a constant battlefield of bickering and tattling? You're not alone, and it's not your fault. But what you may be discovering is that your students don't actually know what it means to be a friend. So today we're breaking down the friendship formula and how you can use it and teach it to your students to help improve peer-to-peer relationships and build a classroom culture where students feel seen, safe, and ready to learn. Hey friends, welcome to Enjoy Teaching Again, the podcast for teachers who love the work but need a little spark to bring the joy back. I'm your host, Elizabeth Peterson, classroom teacher, arts integration specialist, and passionate educator of over 25 years. If you're overwhelmed by behaviors, disengaged students, and long, exhausting days, you are not alone. But together, we can turn things around and you can teach with confidence and purpose again. So locate that cold coffee of yours, find your favorite pen, I know you have one, and let's dive in. It's time to get inspired and enjoy teaching again. You probably want to make relationship building a priority in your classroom, but you just don't want another thing added to your plate, right? Well, I want to invite you to check out the Classroom Reset. This teacher-centered group coaching program gives you practical, proven strategies to build a caring classroom culture without the fluff or the therapy sessions. We dedicate an entire module to helping you build peer-to-peer relationships that create a sense of belonging and calm. Go to theinspiredclassroom.com/reset and take your first step towards enjoying teaching again. Okay, so here's the problem, and it's pretty massive. It's that feeling that students are disconnected, and it shows, and it's so real. This disconnection leads to behavior issues, a lack of collaboration. I mean, how many times have you grouped up your students and there are just issues right from the start? Eye rolls, huffs, puffs, all those things. It leads to loneliness inside the classroom. The thing is that so many kids do not know how to be a friend. In fact, just this year alone, on two very different occasions, I had a boy come up to me and say, with all the sadness in his face and his body language, that he just didn't have friends. The other boy not only said he didn't have friends, but he didn't know how to make friends. And he felt like nobody liked him. And the looks on their faces were just so sad. They looked so lonely. And I could tell that they truly, truly felt that. And to be honest, they weren't far from the truth. They didn't have friends in the classroom. The other students didn't know how to act around them, or they would kind of like ignore them, or they just kind of like didn't know that they were there. And so that really got me thinking that we as teachers have this opportunity to really help our students not only understand that friendship is an important part of life and being in school and eventually being in work, but we can give them the opportunity to actually learn how to make friends in an appropriate way in the environment of our classroom. The thing to remember as a teacher is that a sense of belonging isn't just about teacher-student connection and building those relationships between yourself and your students, but it's also important to have peer-to-peer relationships be an important part of your classroom's culture, because peer relationships can lead to students feeling safe and ready to learn. And belonging, the sense of belonging is so essential to creating a caring classroom culture and getting your students and you the best results academically at school. This really does connect to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If you look at that pyramid of needs, at the bottom is, your real essentials: air, food, water. And then the next level is that sense of safety, right? Making sure that students or ourselves, we're safe, we have shelter, we have some stability. But right above that, before we get into ourselves being able to use our higher order thinking, for us to be able to learn things, understand the world around us, and really apply our knowledge to things outside of ourselves, before we can get to those types of learning, there's a whole row inside his hierarchy pyramid where the focus is on the need for belonging and inclusion. And if we can foster that sense of belonging inside of our classroom, the learning is going to accelerate. If students feel like they belong, like they have some friends in their classmates, they're going to be so much more willing to take risks, make mistakes, contribute, work together. The benefits inside of our classroom can be immense. So I want to introduce you to the concept of the friendship formula. And the formula is very simple, and we'll talk a little bit about it in this episode and how to introduce it to your students as well. So the formula is empathy plus kindness equals friendship. Now we talk and talk and talk about how much we need both of these things in our classrooms. When I go on to like Facebook, or I ask a question into the community online, or the Inspiring Teachers community online, which, by the way, if you're not part of that, you need to get in there. Go to theinspiredclassroom.com/community and come join our community of inspiring teachers. But teachers are always saying, myself included, that our students need to learn empathy and they need to learn kindness. But then the question is, well, how do we actually teach this? Well, we can teach this in the construct of how to make a friend, how to be a friend, and how to keep and grow a friendship. So let's first talk about empathy. Empathy, of course, is noticing how someone else might be feeling and understanding a little bit about how they're feeling, recognizing it in someone else. And I know a lot of teachers feel like their kids just don't know what empathy is and don't know how to show it, right? So let's talk a little bit about how we can explain this in a way that will help students to see that they actually are empathetic and they can develop that skill inside of themselves. So a quick activity for this is to have a series of pictures, and you can grab pictures off of Google. You can just like throw some pictures up on your screen of different people with different facial expressions. In fact, if you Google emotion pictures or pictures of people's faces, a lot of images will come up that you can put up on a screen or even print out if you want. What I love doing also is using some actual photos. Like if you have printed out photos or photos on your phone or your computer that you can post up that show people having different emotions, you can just talk about them. You can ask the students, how does this person feel? If you saw a classmate that had this sad, well, you wouldn't say sad, you would say expression on their face. I'm saying sad because you can't see what I'm looking at. But if you show a picture of like a sad boy next to his bike, and you ask them, how does this kid feel, and how do you know it? Them being able to recognize that and understand that they're upset, and kind of look at the situation around the person in the picture and understand that, maybe his tire popped and now he can't ride his bike anymore, or whatever it might be. That's them getting in tune with their empathetic sides, helping them to understand that. You can do this with photos and pictures, but you can also do it with themselves. This is a fun, little way to insert some drama into your classroom, where you can do something like have a student volunteer come up and show an upset face or a really excited face or a happy face, and have them not only do their facial expressions, but do it in their whole body. Like some kids, their bodies will just naturally show the emotion as well. And then you can have them freeze in a tableau, a frozen pose or frozen picture, and have other students comment on how they look and how you can tell that they are feeling a certain emotion. And the other thing to keep in mind is that you can insert these little empathetic teachings, these little moments of acknowledging another person's feelings into the content that you're teaching. Maybe you're reading a story where there's an emotional part. Maybe there's a picture in a book that you're reading. Maybe there's something happening in the social studies unit that you are teaching, and taking just a couple minute pause to think about what the characters or historical figures are actually feeling in those moments and why they're feeling it. Just another way to practice recognizing empathy. This is the type of thing that you don't have to spend 20, 30, 40 minutes on. This can be a very, very quick little activity to have your students understand what the word empathy means. There's such a difference between telling students about something like empathy and taking a quick moment to show them and help them understand what empathy actually is. And empathy is something that will translate into so many parts of your classroom. Think about how you want your students to feel empathy for a student who maybe doesn't understand something right away, and have them acknowledge that that is totally okay. Or if you have a student with a disability, I'm sure you have other students who consistently show empathy for that person. Or maybe they need to practice a little bit of empathy for that person. Now, empathy is just the first part of the formula. The empathy is the feel part. So that's the internal part that happens first in the formula. And then there's the kindness. The kindness is the action. So we've got the internal feeling of empathy. And now the second part of the formula is the external action that will be taken. So once in that little moment you have empathy for what's going on with someone, now you can do something. Do something kind. We talk about kindness all the time, don't we? Be kind, do something kind, doing acts of kindness. Well, you can give your students some ideas of what they can actually do when they see someone who might be in need. Or this is also a positive thing too. If they see someone who's excited, they can also do something to show that they're excited for them. So these acts of kindness can be going over and asking if someone's okay. It can be going over and saying, hey, you did a really great job on that. You must be so proud. An act of kindness could be a high five, or it could be offering help to another student, like, oh, you're having trouble with that math equation? Hey, I can help you out with that. And of course, you can have your students brainstorm some ideas of kind things that they can do for another person. It can be making them a card, or helping them pick up their pencils off and crayons off of the floor after their pencil box just fell. I mean, that is a classic example of this friendship formula. Someone drops stuff all over the floor. We've all been there, right? And there are students who will notice and have some empathy, and then go over and actually help. And have you noticed that in recent years, there's a lot of kids who will barely notice that something happened to a classmate like that and won't even go over and help them? That just happened to me the other day. A kid was working on a paper in my classroom. She had an entire caddy of markers and crayons and colored pencils, and there were some odds and ends in there, glue sticks and erasers, like all the things. And something happened, and the entire caddy spilled all over the floor. And I noticed, as I was standing there for a moment, I noticed that there were at least 3 other students who were right next to her who didn't do a thing, didn't even glance over. And that was a perfect opportunity for me to pause and not address the whole class. I didn't address the whole class because there were also a few students that were going over and helping. And of course, I complimented them and I thanked them. But then I went over to a couple of the students who didn't do a thing, like didn't even acknowledge what was going on. And I mentioned to them that would have been a great opportunity for you to see what happened and then go do something for her and help her out. It's sad but true. We need to have some more explicit teaching on how students can be better friends in the classroom. Now, I'm going to get on a sidebar here for a moment because some teachers and some other people listening may think, is it really our job to be teaching friendship and to be teaching them that they should know this? Shouldn't they know this? Shouldn't they be learning this at home? And yes, they should, but even if they are, they may not be registering the concept of using empathy and then doing something kind for another person, because they don't get to practice that in their home or practice that in their other activities that they may or may not be doing. The classroom is truly the best atmosphere for students to be practicing these skills. And you, as their teacher, are the best person to help guide them through these little lessons of how to work with others and build friendships. And they don't have to be best friends, right? But build these friendships and acquaintances in their classrooms, because these are the skills that they're going to need as they move higher up in school and, of course, eventually into the workforce. So let's start putting this formula together, okay? So empathy is that internal feeling, and then kindness is that external action that someone's going to do something. So we've got the feel, we've got the do, and that's what leads to making friends. It can be used for building friendships. It can be used for keeping friends. Having this formula really helps students to understand that friendship isn't just about liking someone. It's also a combination of understanding and caring about others. Now, maybe you can kind of put this together as a class by, building a friendship anchor chart. You could have your students come up with some ideas of, what does friendship look like? What does it sound like? What does it feel like? What I like to do is put the equation on the board, E plus K equals F, and talk about each part of those things. Okay, so what does empathy look like? And we put the word feel, or we might put like a heart underneath it. And then kindness, we put the word do or action, and talk about the different ideas of simple things you can do to show kindness. And this year, I actually had my third graders create a visual of the formula inside of their seal journals that we keep in our classroom. Some of them did the math equation, some of them made it up like a recipe. A lot of kids liked putting like 2 bottles of liquid combined into one bottle in the center. So one bottle was E, one bottle was K, and in the middle was friendship, mixing the 2 liquids together to make friendship. And of course, some of the students were, connecting that to color, like blue plus yellow equals green. These are great visual reminders of what friendship is that you can refer to again and again throughout the school year. And then, of course, you want to put this into practice. So not only drawing kids' attention to the friendship formula here and there throughout the school year, but bringing it to their attention maybe before you do some partner work, or actually create time where students can work together on things and practice this formula. And a big shout out to Friendly Friday. If you don't know about Friendly Friday, that's something you will learn about inside the Classroom Reset. This is a SEAL teacher favorite, SEAL being social, emotional, artistic learning. And the teachers that go through my SEAL courses absolutely love Friendly Friday, where students are given the opportunity to actually create something for another classmate in the classroom. And Friendly Friday is the perfect way to practice this formula of empathy plus kindness equals friendship. So what is this really all about? It isn't just about getting kids to get along. It's really more about creating a classroom culture where everybody feels like they belong, not just in theory, but also in practice. When students know that they do have friends in the classroom, they are more likely to engage, they're more likely to take risks, and actually come to school ready to learn. This is the type of thing that can be a real game changer for so many students. So often, we focus on building our relationships with students, which is super important and a big part of what you'll learn inside the Classroom Reset. But remember, our students also need to feel seen by their peers. Think about it for yourself. Your work environment is much more fun, much more successful, and way more enjoyable when you have friends as your colleagues. So what a gift we can actually give our students to have the same in their little mini versions of going to work, which of course is your classroom. So consider how you can introduce the friendship formula to your students. E plus K equals F. Empathy plus kindness equals friendship. Empathy, feeling, kindness, doing in order to build, make, or start a friendship. You can talk about it, post it, practice it, and just watch the shift inside your students. And I can't wait to show you even more about this when you join the Classroom Reset. So head over to theinspiredclassroom.com/reset to learn some more. I can't wait for you to join. I hope this episode inspired you, encouraged you, or gave you a fresh idea to try. And if so, I would love for you to take a screenshot and text it to one of your teaching buddies. I'm so grateful that you landed here with me today, and it would mean the world to me if you would leave me a review over on Apple Podcast. Thanks so much for being here, and I'll catch you on the next episode. This is Elizabeth Peterson reminding you to get inspired so you can be inspiring to your students and enjoy teaching again.